Hello, everybody. This is a quick overview of how you can set up a new remote repository that you can use to share your code between your home computer and your partner's home computer and your school laptop. So here's probably what's happened so far. Most of you started the project by cloning my GitHub repository. So there's Mr. D's repo. And cloning was just downloading the repository and initializing it on your school laptop. So what you're going to do today is you're going to make your own repository in GitHub, and it's initially going to be empty, but then you can commit all your changes. Commit is a word that means sort of like save a snapshot of the current state of your code. So you'll save your snapshot, and then you'll push all of those changes that you've made since you originally cloned mine. You'll push all of that code to your own repository. So it will now reflect the most current state of your code. And then later when you get home, you and your partner can both clone this one, and then you'll both have copies of that most current state of your code. Then you'll most likely want to continue working on this, not during class, but kind of asynchronously at home. So when you do, if partner 2, I should have said commit, partner 2, let's say, makes some changes. So they would commit the updates, so they'll save a new snapshot, including whatever changes they've made, and then they'll push that to the remote. And then when partner 1 wants to see those changes, they will pull those changes. They'll pull the commits down to their home computer. And then later on, if you want to have the school laptop reflect all of the changes, the school laptop will pull as well. There are definitely some things to be careful about when coordinating, pushing, and pulling all your changes, but I'll have another video about that. Today is just about how to set this all up. So if you don't have a GitHub account already, you'll need to go to GitHub and create an account. If you do have an account, then you can just create a new repository. Your landing page might look different than my landing page, but there should be some obvious thing you click on for create a new repository. So you should see yourself as an owner here. And my repository name, the one that you guys cloned, was game empty template. I'm currently making tower defense, so I'm going to call mine tower defense example. If your repository needs to have a unique name, so if the name isn't available, it'll tell you and just name it a different thing. If you want to give it a little description, example for students. It's usually good practice to have a README file that tells people what your project is about, and a gitignore file. I think you already have a gitignore file, actually, and a license about how other people are able to use or restricted from using your code. I'm going to skip all that, create the repository. If all goes well, you should see this. This is kind of the empty repository. You can use Git from the command line. We haven't been. Instead, this is the URL now for your repository. So go ahead and click this button to copy that URL. And now we have to set up IntelliJ to point to this URL as another remote. So here's my tower defense game so far. You should have a Git menu. I want to go all the way down to, where's remotes? Manage remotes, down here. So you see there's a remote whose name is Origin, and that's game empty template. That was where I originally cloned from. I'm going to add a new remote. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it Dobrovich game, but you could call it your own, and then paste the URL. And so now we have this other remote. And whenever you're pushing all of your changes, you're pushing your commits, you're uploading them to a repository, you can choose whether or not you want to try and upload them to Origin or try and upload them to Dobrovich game. You're not allowed actually to change Origin because that's mine. And you don't have permission to push to my repository, but you should have permission to push to your own repository. Okay, so I mentioned that you can't push until you have recorded a snapshot of the current state of your code, and that would be under commit. So you might see a menu. So if you click on the commit tab, you will see unversioned files. Unversioned files are files that are not currently being tracked by Git. So whatever Java source files you have, you want to check those. If you see other things like if you see .class files, those are compiled files that you would not want to track with version control. You only want to track your source code. And then here I have changes in game.java. So game.java was already being tracked, so it's not unversioned, but I've made additional changes. So I'm clicking all of those, and what I'm saying is I want to make a new snapshot, a new commit that includes all of these things in the snapshot. You typically have a commit message. I'll have more to say about the commit message, but it's just a quick, like one sentence summary of what this contains. So I'm going to have a generic one because there's a lot of changes in these commits. So add initial bulk of working framework. So balloon and tower classes plus tester. All right, so then you'll hit, let's do it separately. So let's hit commit, and it might have warnings or it might not have warnings. Let's see. So it says checks failed, 16 warnings. It warns us about a lot of stuff we don't care about, so I'm going to click commit anyway. And down there it says 3 files committed, so that was good. So that means I've recorded my snapshot. Now you can go to git and then push, and here you can select where you're going to push to. So I'm pushing the master branch, and I'm not going to push it to origin because that's mine. I want to push it to this other repository. So select whatever your repository is called. And I guess there's no reason not to push it to the master branch there as well. So go ahead and try that. In the lower right-hand corner, you saw pushing, and now it says pushed master to new branch, Dobrovich game / master. So now let's go back to GitHub and verify that that worked. So here's the original URL where I got my repository URL. If I refresh the page, now you can see branch master, and you can see all the code that I pushed. When you get home and you want to clone the repository, don't clone my original empty template. Instead, go to this URL and then find the, right, so click on the code button and then find the URL for cloning, and then inside your IntelliJ, you would clone it the same way that you did initially in class. Good luck.